I'm Abigail Harper, a cancer researcher who spent the last 7 years chasing breakthroughs that could save lives. I'm 29, born and raised in Austin, Texas, where the sun sets slow and family is supposed to mean everything. 3 days ago, I was in Chicago, presenting my work to some of the top oncologists in the country. It was grueling, long days, endless questions, the weight of proving myself. All I wanted was to come home, sink into my own bed, and feel the quiet of my own space. But life, as I've learned, doesn't care about what you want. I got back a day early, dragging my suitcase down my street, and what I found changed my life forever. Cars lined every inch of the road. Pickups, SUVs, a motorcycle I recognized from childhood. My house glowed with light, laughter spilling out like it was someone else's home. And there, through the window, a banner stretched across my living room. Family means forever. My heart stopped. This wasn't a neighbor's party. This was my house, my life, invaded. What I'd discover inside would teach me that forever doesn't always mean love. It can mean betrayal. I turned the key, my hands trembling, not ready for what was behind that door. The noise hit me first. A wall of laughter, clinking glasses, children shrieking as they ran through my house. Shoes piled up in the entryway. Coats I didn't recognize draped over my furniture. I stood frozen, suitcase still in hand, as 99 relatives turned to stare. These weren't strangers, not exactly, but people I hadn't seen in years. Some not since my father's funeral 5 years ago. My cousin Tiffany spotted me first, her wine glass pausing mid-air. "Abigail! Oh my God, you're here!" she gasped, and the room fell silent, like a record scratching to a halt. My eyes locked on that banner again. Family means forever. The words mocked me, hanging over a celebration I wasn't invited to, in the home I'd poured my heart into. My mother, Linda, stood in the dining room, laughing with aunts until she saw me. Her smile vanished, replaced by a flicker of panic. My brother Ethan emerged from the kitchen, nearly dropping a tray of drinks. His wife Nicole whispered something and his face flushed red. I felt like I'd walked into a play where everyone knew their lines except me. They'd planned this for months. A Carter family reunion, 99 people strong, and not one thought to tell me. My mother approached, arms outstretched for a hug that felt like a performance. "Abigail, what are you doing home? We thought you were back tomorrow." Her voice was too bright, too rehearsed. I kept my tone steady, though my chest burned. The workshop ended early. I caught an earlier flight. Ethan chimed in, his smile forced. "Great to see you, sis. Just a little family gathering." Little. I gestured at the crowd filling every corner of our shared house. "There's 99 people here, Ethan." Nicole piped up, proud. "Actually, 99 exactly. Even great-aunt Edith came from Florida. Months of planning, flights booked, and no one bothered to send me a text. My home, half mine, paid for with my research fellowship money, wasn't mine tonight. My books were pushed aside for photo albums, my TV hijacked by kids playing games. And that banner, with its hollow promise, felt like a lie I'd been living with my whole life. I couldn't stay in that house. I grabbed a bag, packed essentials, and checked into a hotel downtown, the Austin skyline glowing outside my window. Alone, I could finally breathe, but my mind kept replaying that banner. Family means forever. Growing up in Austin, Texas, family was everything. Barbecues, rodeos, Sunday dinners under oak trees. But I was always the invisible one. My straight-A report cards were glanced at, while Ethan's B's earned a celebration. My debate trophies sat in the shadows of his sales awards. In Texas, we're taught to hold family close, to honor our roots. But what happens when your family doesn't see you? I remember one summer, standing alone at a family barbecue, ribs sizzling on the grill, while everyone cheered for Ethan's latest win. I was 15, clutching a science fair ribbon, but no one noticed. That night in the hotel, I realized this reunion was just another barbecue. One more moment where I didn't belong. But this time I wasn't a kid anymore. I could choose my own path, my own family. What happened next would show me that blood isn't always thicker than water. And sometimes, the bravest revenge is reclaiming your worth. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own family, I see you. Share your story in the comments below. Let's talk about what family really means. And if this resonates, hit that like button and subscribe. My journey's just beginning, and I want you along for the ride. I turned the key in the lock, my heart heavy from the long flight, expecting the quiet of my Austin home to wrap around me like a warm blanket. Instead, the door swung open, and a wave of noise crashed over me. Laughter, clinking glasses, the shrill giggles of children running wild. My house, my sanctuary, was unrecognizable. Shoes were piled haphazardly in the entryway. Unfamiliar coats draped over my furniture like they belonged there. I stood frozen, suitcase still gripped in my hand, as my eyes scanned the chaos. There were dozens of people, 99 I'd later learn, relatives I barely knew, filling every corner of the home I'd poured my soul into. My research books, meticulously arranged on the coffee table, had been shoved aside to make room for photo albums and snack trays. Kids I'd never met were sprawled on my couch, playing video games on my TV. And there, stretching across my living room wall, was a banner that hit me like a punch to the gut. Family means forever. The words glared at me, bold and mocking, a cruel irony for a celebration I hadn't been invited to. I'm Abigail Harper, a cancer researcher who spent years fighting for breakthroughs at the Austin Medical Research Institute. This house was my refuge, half mine through a co-ownership deal with my brother, Ethan, paid for with my fellowship money. But standing there, I realized my home wasn't mine anymore. My cousin Tiffany was the first to notice me, her wine glass pausing halfway to her lips. "Abigail! Oh my God, you're here!" she stammered, her voice cutting through the din. Heads turned, conversations faltered, and a ripple of silence spread through the room. I felt like an intruder in my own space, every eye on me as if I'd crashed their party. These weren't strangers, not exactly. Uncle Richard with his weathered cowboy hat, Aunt Janet serving brisket from my kitchen, cousins I hadn't seen since my father's funeral 5 years ago. But they might as well have been strangers, because none of them had thought to tell me about this reunion. Not one text, not one call. The banner's promise of forever felt like a betrayal, a reminder that family, for me, had always meant being overlooked, dismissed, invisible. As the silence stretched, my mother, Linda, emerged from the dining room, where she'd been holding court with a group of older relatives. Her laugh, loud and commanding moments ago, cut off abruptly when our eyes met across the crowded room. For a split second I saw surprise, maybe even guilt, flash across her face before she plastered on a smile and hurried toward me. "Abigail, honey, what are you doing home today?" she said, her voice syrupy as she pulled me into a hug that felt mechanical, like something rehearsed for an audience. "We thought you were coming back tomorrow." Her words were careful, too careful, and I felt my stomach twist. I'd told Ethan my travel dates months ago, texted him before I left for Chicago. He knew I'd be gone. "The workshop ended early," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I caught an earlier flight." Before I could say more, Ethan appeared from the kitchen, balancing a tray of drinks, his face paling when he saw me. "Hey sis, great to see you," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Just a little family gathering, you know, a spur-of-the-moment thing." His casual tone was a lie, and I could feel it. I gestured at the sea of people spilling through our shared house. My house, half mine by legal right. "A little gathering, Ethan? There's 99 people here." His wife, Nicole, stepped up beside him, her expression a mix of pride and defiance. "Actually, 99 exactly," she said, like it was something to brag about. "We've been planning the Carter family reunion for months. Even great-aunt Edith came from Florida." The word hit me like a brick. Months of planning, flights booked, food prepared, and not one of them thought to include me. Ethan's text from weeks ago echoed in my mind. House will be quiet this weekend. A deliberate deception, and the weight of it made my chest ache. My home, my space had been violated, and they acted like I was the one out of place. As I moved through the crowd, trying to process the betrayal, my eyes caught something that made my heart sink deeper. Draped over a folding table, covered in barbecue sauce stains, was my grandmother's Texas Longhorn quilt, a family heirloom, hand-stitched by her hands, a piece of our Austin roots I'd cherished since I was a girl. It wasn't just fabric. It was a symbol of the Texas family values I'd been raised to believe in: loyalty, heritage, love. But here it was, used as a disposable tablecloth for a party I wasn't invited to. I felt a lump in my throat, the same ache I'd carried since childhood. Growing up in Austin, family gatherings were sacred. Backyard barbecues, 4th of July cookouts, the smell of smoked brisket under wide Texas skies. But I was always the odd one out. I remember being 15, standing alone at a family barbecue, clutching a science fair ribbon I'd won after months of work. My parents were across the yard, cheering Ethan as he showed off his new rodeo buckle. No one noticed my ribbon, no one asked about my project. That day, I felt invisible, and standing in my own living room now, surrounded by 99 relatives who didn't think to include me, I felt it again. In Texas, we're taught that family is forever, that blood binds you no matter what. But that quilt, stained and disrespected, told a different story. My family had taken my space, my memories, my trust, and treated them like they didn't matter. The banner above me screamed family means forever, but forever felt like a sentence, not a promise. I looked at the faces around me, cousins swapping stories, aunts laughing over old photos, and realized I'd never been part of their forever. This wasn't just a party. It was a declaration that I didn't belong. But I wasn't that 15-year-old girl anymore, ignored at a barbecue. I was a woman who'd built a career saving lives, who'd earned her place in the world. As I stood there, the seeds of a quiet revenge took root, not vengeance in anger, but in reclaiming my worth. I'd show them that family doesn't get to define you when they choose to make you invisible. To understand why walking into my house and finding 99 relatives felt like a betrayal carved from years of hurt, you need to know where I came from. I'm Abigail Harper, raised in Austin, Texas, where family is supposed to be the heartbeat of every home. But for me, family was a stage where I was never the star. Growing up, I was the kid who lived for books, for science, for the thrill of solving problems that could change lives. I'd spend hours in my room, poring over biology textbooks, dreaming of a future where my work might save someone. My report cards were a sea of A's, each one a quiet victory I hoped my parents would notice. But they didn't. My mother, Linda, would glance at my grades, stick them on the fridge with a distracted nod, and move on. Meanwhile, my brother Ethan, with his B's and C's, was celebrated like he'd won the Super Bowl. He works so hard, my parents would say, throwing him dinner parties for every minor achievement. I didn't need parties, but I craved acknowledgement just once for the hours I poured into my dreams. Ethan was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. His baseball games were family events, the whole house emptying out to cheer him on under Texas skies. My debate team championships. They were lucky to get a passing mention if nothing else was happening. I remember one spring, standing on a stage in Austin, holding a first-place trophy for a state debate competition. My heart was pounding with pride, but when I looked out at the audience, the seats where my family should have been were empty. They were at Ethan's game, clapping for a home run that didn't even happen. My father, David, was different before he passed. He'd slip me notes sometimes, little scraps of paper saying, "I'm proud of you, Abby," but never in front of Mom or Ethan. Never where it might challenge the family script that Ethan was the one who mattered. That script followed me into adulthood. For 7 years, I've worked at the Austin Medical Research Institute, pushing boundaries in cancer treatment research. My team's work on targeted therapies could change how we fight aggressive lymphomas, maybe save thousands of lives. It's the kind of work that keeps me up at night, not just for the science but for the people it could help. But to my family, it was never a real career. Why waste all that time in school? Mom would say, her voice sharp with dismissal. Ethan's out there building a life, selling insurance, making real money. I never understood why my dreams were less valid, why my passion for saving lives was something to shrug off. Every milestone I hit, a published paper, a presentation to top oncologists, was met with silence. Last Christmas, my research made it into a prestigious medical journal. I sent the article to Mom, hoping for once she'd see me. It went unmentioned. But when Ethan got a sales award, the house was full of cheers. Standing in my living room, staring at that Family Means Forever banner, I realized this wasn't just about a party I wasn't invited to. It was about a lifetime of being invisible in my own family. After my father died 5 years ago, everything changed. His heart gave out, leaving a hole in our family and a house we couldn't afford to keep. Ethan suggested we buy it together. Him and his wife, Nicole, on the first floor, me in the renovated second-floor apartment, and Mom in a converted garage apartment. It seemed like the perfect solution, a chance to hold on to the home where Dad's memory lived, maybe even to bridge the gap between us. I used every penny of my research fellowship money for my half of the down payment, a sacrifice I made without hesitation. Ethan got his share from Nicole's parents, and we signed a co-ownership agreement, laying out clear boundaries. My apartment was my private space, untouchable. My attorney, Barbara, insisted on those clauses, and at the time I thought it was overly formal for family. How naive I was. For 4 years, the arrangement worked mostly. I traveled often for conferences, presenting my research to experts across the country. Ethan and Nicole turned the house into their social hub, hosting dinner parties that always seemed to fall when I was stuck in the lab. I was invited, sure, but the timing was never an accident. Mom settled into her apartment, but she'd drop by my space unannounced, rearranging my books or tidying my desk despite my requests for a simple text first. "I'm your mother, Abigail," she'd say, her voice sharp. I shouldn't need an appointment to see my daughter. I tried to make it work. I showed up for Sunday dinners when I could, smiled through Ethan's endless stories at holiday gatherings, even when my own achievements, like a breakthrough in my research, went unnoticed. I kept trying, kept hoping that sharing this house might finally make us a family. But standing there, surrounded by 99 relatives who'd invaded my home without a word, I saw the truth. This house wasn't a bridge. It was a battleground. Ethan and Nicole had used my absence to claim it as their own, hosting this massive reunion as if my half didn't exist. The Family Means Forever banner mocked the agreement we'd signed, the boundaries I'd thought were sacred. I thought sharing a house would unite us, bring us closer after Dad's death. Instead, it exposed how little I mattered to them. My apartment, my sanctuary, was just another space for them to take. And the worst part, I'd let it happen year after year, hoping for a connection that was never coming. That night, as I stood under that banner, I realized this wasn't just about a party. It was about a family that had always chosen Ethan over me, a family that saw my dreams as less than his, a family that expected me to fade into the background. But I was done fading. In Texas, family is supposed to be your rock, your roots, the thing you hold on to no matter what. Growing up in Austin, I was raised on that belief. Big family barbecues, 4th of July rodeos, the whole town coming together under wide open skies. But for me, family was where I felt most alone. I remember one summer when I was 16, standing at a science fair in downtown Austin, my project on cancer cell mutations displayed proudly on a trifold board. I'd spent months on it, staying up late, testing theories, driven by a dream to make a difference. I won first place that day, a blue ribbon pinned to my board, my heart swelling with possibility. But when I looked for my family in the crowd, they weren't there. They were at Ethan's rodeo, cheering as he competed for some buckle that meant more to them than my victory. I walked home alone, the ribbon clutched in my hand, wondering why my wins never mattered. That memory flooded back as I stood in my invaded home, staring at the family means forever banner. It wasn't just the party that hurt. It was the lifetime of being left out. In Texas, we're taught to value family above all, to show up for each other, to celebrate together. But my family didn't show up for me. Not at the science fair, not at my debate championships, not even when my research started saving lives. They were too busy celebrating Ethan, the son who fit their idea of success. That night, seeing my grandmother's Texas Longhorn quilt misused as a tablecloth, I felt that same ache from the science fair. I was invisible again, my dreams and my space dismissed as if they were nothing. But this time, I wasn't a teenager hoping for approval. I was a woman who'd built a career, a life on my own terms. This reunion, this betrayal, wasn't just a moment. It was the final straw. I wasn't going to let my family define me anymore. My revenge wouldn't be loud or cruel. It would be quiet, deliberate, and mine, reclaiming my worth, my space, and my future, no matter what that banner claimed about forever. Standing in my own home, surrounded by 99 relatives who'd turned my sanctuary into their playground, I felt the weight of betrayal settle into my bones. I'm Abigail Harper, a cancer researcher from Austin, Texas, and I just walked into a family reunion I wasn't invited to, under a banner that mocked me with its promise. Family means forever. But the truth was uglier than I'd imagined, and it was about to unravel. I needed answers, so I slipped away from the crowd, their laughter echoing like a taunt, and climbed the stairs to my second-floor apartment. My space, my haven, was supposed to be off-limits, a boundary Ethan and I had agreed on when we co-owned this house. But as I pushed open the door, my heart sank. Air mattresses littered the floor, my research books were stacked carelessly on a chair, and a child's juice box sat on my desk, staining my notes. It wasn't just a party. They'd invaded every inch of my life. Then I saw it, tucked under a pile of blankets on my bed, a manila folder with Ethan's name scrawled across it. My hands trembled as I opened it, not knowing what I'd find but feeling the dread build in my chest. Inside were financial documents, bank statements, loan applications, notices of overdue payments. Ethan was drowning in debt, his insurance sales business failing despite the polished image he projected. One paper stopped me cold, a refinancing application for our house, listing only his name, as if my half didn't exist. My fellowship money had paid for my share, every penny earned through sleepless nights in the lab, and now Ethan was trying to erase me from it. I flipped through more pages, my pulse racing, and found a handwritten note. Abigail out of town March 15th to March 18th. He'd known my travel dates for the Chicago conference, texted me to confirm them weeks ago. House will be quiet this weekend, he'd written. A lie, deliberate and calculated. They hadn't just forgotten to invite me. They'd planned this reunion for months, knowing I'd be gone, using my absence to take over my home. The truth hit like a Texas thunderstorm, sudden and merciless. This wasn't a spontaneous gathering. Ethan, my mother Linda, and his wife Nicole had orchestrated it, booking flights, renting tables, ordering that damn banner, all while keeping me in the dark. My cousin Melissa had bragged about planning it for 6 months, even flying in Great-Aunt Edith from Florida. 6 months of secrecy, of emails and phone calls I was never part of. My mind raced back to Ethan's casual smile downstairs, his little family gathering excuse. He'd looked me in the eye and lied, knowing I'd find my home overrun, my boundaries violated. I thought of the family means forever banner, its words now a cruel joke. Forever didn't mean love or respect. It meant manipulation, a family that saw my space, my life, as theirs to use. I stood there, clutching those documents, my anger mixing with a deeper hurt. This wasn't just about a party. It was about a brother who'd betray me for his own gain, a family that chose him over me again and again. I couldn't stay silent. With the folder tucked under my arm, I marched back downstairs, the noise of the reunion swelling around me. Laughter, clinking glasses, the chaos of 99 people who didn't know or care that I'd been betrayed. I found Ethan in the kitchen, joking with cousins over a tray of brisket. His wife Nicole at his side. My mother Linda was nearby, holding court with aunts, her laughter sharp and commanding. I stood in the doorway, my voice steady but low, cutting through their chatter. "Ethan, why didn't you tell me about this?" I held up the folder, my eyes locked on his. The room quieted, heads turning, but I didn't care about the audience. I needed answers. Ethan's smile faltered, his hands fidgeting with the tray. "Abigail, it's just family," he said, his tone light, like I was overreacting. "We didn't think you'd mind. You're always so busy with your research stuff." His words were a dismissal, a script he'd used my whole life to brush me aside. I turned to Linda, hoping for something, anything to show she cared. "Mom, you knew I'd be gone. Why didn't anyone tell me?" Her face softened, but it was the kind of softness that comes with pity, not regret. "Honey, we didn't want to bother you," she said, stepping closer, her voice dripping with that Texas charm she used to smooth things over. "You're always working, always off at those conferences. We thought you'd be too tired for a little get-together." A little get-together. I gestured at the crowd, the banner, the tables spilling out into my backyard. "This isn't little, Mom. This is 99 people, planned for months in my house." Nicole chimed in, her voice sharp with pride. 6 months, actually. We've been working hard to make this happen. Even Aunt Edith flew in. Her words confirmed what I'd feared. This was intentional. They'd excluded me on purpose, not out of forgetfulness but because they didn't think I belonged. I felt my throat tighten, the hurt rising like a tide. "You knew my schedule," I said to Ethan, holding up the note from his folder. "You lied to me about the house being quiet." His face flushed, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he doubled down, his voice low and defensive. "Come on, Abigail, it's family. We're supposed to share, right? What's the big deal?" The big deal was everything. My home, my trust, my place in this family. They'd taken my space, my privacy, and acted like I was the one making a fuss. Linda reached for my arm, her touch cold. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, honey." I pulled away, the family means forever banner looming behind her, its words a lie I couldn't unsee. They hadn't just invaded my home. They'd planned to keep me out, to use my absence for their gain. This was betrayal, woven into every detail of their secret reunion. As I turned away from Ethan and Linda, my eyes caught something that broke my heart all over again. In the bathroom, discarded on the counter, was my grandmother's Texas Longhorn pendant, a silver heirloom she'd given me before she passed. It was cracked, the delicate steer head split in two, glinting under the harsh light. I picked it up, my fingers trembling, and a child's voice piped up behind me. "I was just playing with it, Aunt Abigail. I didn't mean to break it." I looked at the boy, maybe 8. His eyes wide with innocence, but the damage was done. This wasn't just a pendant. It was a piece of my Texas roots, a reminder of my grandmother's stories about resilience, about holding on to what matters. Now it was shattered, like my trust in this family. I clutched the broken pieces, the weight of the night pressing down on me. Ethan followed me into the bathroom, his voice low, almost pleading. "Abigail, don't make a scene. You're upsetting Mom, you know that. She's been through enough." His words were a gut punch, twisting the knife of guilt he'd always wielded so well. In Texas, we're taught to put family first, to swallow our pain for the sake of harmony. But this wasn't harmony, it was manipulation. I looked at him, the brother I'd spent my life trying to please, and saw the truth. "This isn't family, Ethan," I said, my voice steady despite the ache. "This is you using me, using my home to prop yourself up." He flinched, but I didn't stop. The pendant in my hand was a symbol of everything they'd broken. Not just an object, but my place in this family. The family means forever banner outside was a lie, a cover for their selfishness. I wasn't just invisible to them. I was expendable. But standing there, holding the shards of my grandmother's legacy, I knew I was done letting them define me. My revenge wouldn't be a fight or a scream. It would be walking away, rebuilding my life on my terms, and proving that I was more than their afterthought. The moment I held those financial documents in my hands, Ethan's lies laid bare. I knew I couldn't stay frozen in the hurt. I'm Abigail Harper, a cancer researcher from Austin, Texas, and I just walked into my own home to find 99 relatives celebrating a reunion I wasn't invited to, under a banner that mocked me. Family means forever. But forever doesn't mean betrayal, and I was done letting my family, my brother Ethan, my mother Linda, his wife Nicole, define my worth. Their invasion of my home, my sanctuary, wasn't just a party. It was a violation of trust, a deliberate act to push me out. Standing in my apartment, surrounded by air mattresses and my displaced research books, I made a choice. I wasn't going to scream or cry. I was going to take control, not out of anger, but out of a quiet, unshakable resolve to reclaim my life. I started with the evidence. I pulled out my phone and began documenting every detail of the chaos they'd left behind. The juice box staining my desk, the cracked frame of my father's photo, the books I'd spent years collecting shoved into a corner to make room for their party. Every photo I took felt like a step toward reclaiming my space, my voice. I moved through my apartment methodically, capturing the air mattresses, the dirty dishes stacked in my sink, the scuff marks on my hardwood floors. This wasn't just about damage. It was about proving they'd crossed a line, one I'd let them blur for too long. My half of this house, paid for with my fellowship money, was mine by right, and I wasn't going to let them erase that. The next morning, I drove to downtown Austin, the city's skyline a familiar comfort against the storm inside me. I met with Barbara Reynolds, my attorney, in her office overlooking the Colorado River. Barbara was no nonsense, her Texas drawl sharp with clarity as she flipped through my photos and the financial documents I'd found. "Abigail," she said, her eyes steady, "you've got a case here. They violated your co-ownership agreement. And those documents suggest Ethan's trying to refinance without you. You can sue for damages or you can take another path. Rent out your share, secure your space, move on your terms." Her words were a lifeline, a reminder that I had options, that I wasn't trapped. I'd spent years trying to fit into my family's idea of who I should be, but now I saw a way out, not running away but moving forward. As I left Barbara's office, my phone buzzed with an email that changed everything. It was from Dr. Winters, a mentor from my Chicago conference, offering me a position at a cutting-edge cancer research institute in Geneva, Switzerland. The role was a dream, leading a team on clinical trials for lymphoma treatments, work that could save lives on a scale I'd only imagined. I sat in my car, staring at the email, the weight of the decision pressing down. Accepting meant leaving Austin, leaving the house I'd fought for, leaving the family that had never truly seen me. But it also meant choosing myself, my work, my future. I thought of my father, David, who'd believed in my dreams before his heart gave out. He'd left me a locket with a note inside. "Keep going, Abby." I wasn't running from my family. I was moving toward the life I'd built. I replied to Dr. Winters with a single word. Yes. That moment, sitting in my car under the Texas sun, I felt a spark of power. This was my revenge. Not destruction, but creation, building a life where I defined my own forever. With my decision made, I knew I had to act fast. The family means forever banner still hung in my mind, a reminder of the family that had betrayed me, but I wasn't going to let their actions dictate my future. I returned to the house the next day, the party long over, the silence eerie after the chaos of 99 relatives. Ethan and Nicole were gone, Mom back in her garage apartment, and the remnants of their reunion. Empty cups, crumpled napkins, littered my space. I sat at my desk, the same one stained by a child's juice box, and opened my laptop. I typed an email to every relative who'd been there, my words deliberate, polite, but firm. "Dear family," I wrote. "I was surprised to find the Carter reunion in my home yesterday. I wish I'd been invited to share in the celebration. Thank you for coming and I hope you enjoyed your time. Sincerely, Abigail." I hit send, knowing they'd read between the lines. This wasn't just courtesy, it was a statement. I was done being invisible, done letting them rewrite my place in this family. Next, I called the property management company Barbara recommended. They were local, Austin-based, with a reputation for handling complex co-ownership situations. I explained the agreement, my half of the house, the boundaries Ethan had violated. "I want to rent out my apartment," I told them. "I'm moving to Switzerland for a research job, and I need someone to protect my interests." They agreed to manage my share, ensuring Ethan couldn't touch it, that my space remained mine even from across the ocean. It felt like a weight lifting, knowing my home would be secure, my investment safe, while I built a new life. I packed my apartment that week, each box a step toward freedom. My research books, my father's locket, the few pieces of my grandmother's legacy I could salvage. They came with me. The rest I left behind, not out of defeat but out of choice. I wasn't abandoning my home. I was protecting it on my terms. The flight to Geneva was a blur, the Texas plains fading beneath the clouds as I crossed the Atlantic. When I landed, the crisp air and towering Alps felt like a new beginning. I checked into a small apartment near the Research Institute, my new home overlooking Lake Geneva. The first day at work, I walked into a lab buzzing with purpose. Scientists from around the world, united by a mission to fight cancer. Dr. Winters greeted me, her handshake firm, her words clear. "Abigail, your work here will change lives." I felt seen, valued, in a way my family never offered. My research, the same work they'd dismissed as a waste of time, was now part of a global effort. I spent my days designing trials, analyzing data, seeing hope in every result. In Austin, I'd been a shadow in my own home. In Geneva, I was a leader, my voice heard, my work respected. That first night in Geneva, I stood by the lake, my father's locket in my hand. The family means forever banner was a distant memory, its lie replaced by a truth I was building myself. I hadn't run from my family. I'd found my future. This wasn't just about leaving Texas. It was about choosing a life where I wasn't an afterthought. My revenge wasn't in hurting Ethan or Linda. It was in thriving, in proving that I didn't need their approval to matter. I thought of the house, now managed by professionals, my stake secure. I thought of the email I'd sent, a quiet assertion of my presence. Every step I took was a reclaiming of my worth, a declaration that I was enough. Geneva wasn't an escape. It was a homecoming to myself. Before I left Austin, I knew I had to face my family one last time. I called a meeting, just the four of us. Me, Ethan, Nicole, and Mom, in the living room where that banner had hung. The family means forever sign was gone, but its shadow lingered. I stood tall, my voice steady, and laid out my decision. "I'm moving to Switzerland for a research job," I said, watching their faces. "I'm renting out my half of the house through a management company. My space is mine, and it stays that way." Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes avoiding mine. Nicole crossed her arms, her silence loud with disapproval. Mom was the first to speak, her voice sharp with that Texas guilt I knew so well. "Abigail, you're abandoning us, abandoning our values. Family sticks together." I looked at her, the woman who'd dismissed my dreams for years, and felt a calm I hadn't expected. Respect isn't abandonment, Mom, I said. It's survival. You chose to exclude me. I'm choosing to protect myself. That moment was my quiet revenge. Not a fight, but a stand. In Texas, we're taught to hold family close, to sacrifice for those we love. But I'd sacrificed enough, given too much to a family that didn't see me. Walking away from that meeting, I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried since childhood. I wasn't breaking the family. I was breaking free. Months later in Geneva, I met Sarah, a young intern from San Antonio, Texas, who reminded me of myself at her age. Driven, curious, but unsure of her place. Over coffee by Lake Geneva, I shared my story, not the details of the reunion, but the lesson. Never let anyone make you feel small, I told her. Your work, your dreams, they matter. Don't wait for permission to shine. Her eyes lit up, and I saw a spark of the courage I'd found. Mentoring her felt like honoring my father, passing on the belief he'd given me. In Texas, we're raised to believe family is forever, but I learned it's not about blood, it's about respect. Sarah became part of my new family, not because of shared DNA, but because we saw each other. My revenge wasn't in tearing down Ethan or Linda. It was in building a life where I was enough. Every trial I led in Geneva, every patient whose life we touched, was a testament to that. I'd left Austin behind, but I carried its lessons. Resilience, roots, the strength to stand alone. My family's betrayal had pushed me to this moment, and I was grateful, not for their actions, but for the clarity they gave me. Respect is survival, and I was surviving, thriving on my own terms. Leaving Austin wasn't just about leaving a house or a family. It was about finding myself. I'm Abigail Harper, a cancer researcher who walked into my own home in Texas to find 99 relatives celebrating a reunion I wasn't invited to, under a banner that lied. Family means forever. That betrayal, orchestrated by my brother Ethan, my mother Linda, and his wife Nicole, could have broken me. Instead, it pushed me to Geneva, Switzerland, where I discovered what forever could really mean. My new life began in a lab overlooking Lake Geneva, surrounded by colleagues who saw my work not as a waste of time, but as a lifeline for patients. I led a team on clinical trials for lymphoma treatments, diving into data, designing protocols, watching hope take shape in every result. For the first time, I felt valued, not for who my family wanted me to be, but for who I was. My research, the same work my family dismissed, was saving lives. 78% of our trial patients showed reduced tumors, a number that kept me up at night with pride, not pain. Geneva was more than a job. It was a homecoming to myself. I'd spent years in Austin trying to fit into a family that didn't see me, but here I built a new family, not of blood but of respect. My colleagues became my support, celebrating my breakthroughs, sharing late-night coffees as we chased solutions. I'd walk by Lake Geneva after long days, my father's locket in my pocket, his note, "Keep going, Abby," a reminder of why I was here. I wasn't running from my past. I was building a future. But even as I thrived, Austin lingered. One evening, an email from Ethan appeared in my inbox, the subject line simple, "I'm sorry." I hesitated, my finger hovering over the delete button, but curiosity won. "Abigail," he wrote, "sitting in the house without you feels wrong. I didn't realize how much I took you for granted. I'm sorry for the reunion, for everything." His words were raw, unguarded, a crack in the armor of the golden child I'd always known. He admitted the reunion was a desperate attempt to feel in control, to hide his failing business, his mounting debts. "You were right to leave," he ended. "I hope you're happy." I read the email again, feeling a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, but also a strange relief. Ethan was reflecting, seeing the cost of his actions, something I never thought possible. It didn't erase the hurt, but it showed me something. Family could change, even if slowly. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I made another decision. I'd rented out my half of the Austin house through a management company, securing my investment, but now I wanted closure. I called Barbara, my attorney, and told her to sell my share. The house, once a symbol of my father's memory, had become a battleground. Letting it go wasn't defeat, it was freedom. Barbara handled the sale, splitting the profits with Ethan, my stake wired to a new account in Geneva. I used part of it to start a scholarship in my father's name at the Austin Medical Research Institute, funding young scientists like I'd been, dreamers who needed someone to believe in them. That scholarship was my way of honoring Dad, of turning pain into purpose. As the sale closed, I felt a weight lift. The Family Means Forever banner was a memory, its lie replaced by a truth I'd forged. Family wasn't about blood or obligation. It was about those who saw you, who lifted you up. In Geneva, I'd found that. Ethan's email was a sign that my family was changing, not because I'd stayed to fix them, but because I'd chosen myself. My revenge wasn't in holding grudges. It was in thriving, in building a life where I was enough. I looked out at Lake Geneva, the Alps glowing in the distance, and knew I'd made the right choice. This wasn't just a new beginning. It was a declaration that I belonged, not to a family that betrayed me, but to a world that needed me. A year after moving to Geneva, I found myself in Boston for a medical conference, presenting my team's research to a room of oncologists. Our lymphoma trials had surpassed expectations. 78% tumor reduction, a breakthrough that could redefine treatment protocols. As I spoke, I felt my father's locket against my chest, his belief in me alive in every word. The applause that followed wasn't just for the data. It was for years of work, of nights in the lab, of proving I was more than my family's afterthought. I didn't need their approval anymore, but I was about to face them again. Ethan had invited me to dinner in Boston, where he and Nicole had moved after the house sale. Just us, Mom and Lily, he'd written, mentioning their newborn daughter. I almost declined, the memory of the Family Means Forever banner still sharp, but something, maybe curiosity, maybe hope, made me say yes. The restaurant was quiet, a small Italian place near the Charles River. Ethan looked older, his confidence softened by time. Nicole was reserved, her usual sharpness dulled. Mom sat across from me, her eyes cautious but warm. Lily, barely a year old, slept in a carrier, her tiny hand curled around Nicole's finger. We talked carefully at first, skirting the past, but Ethan broke the silence. "I read your article in that medical journal," he said, his voice low. "It's incredible, Abigail. I didn't get it before, what you do. I'm proud of you." I froze, the words I'd craved for years landing like a whisper. Mom nodded, pulling a folded paper from her purse, a clipping of my article, creased from being carried. "I keep it on the fridge," she said, almost shyly. "I don't understand it all, but I know it's important." It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was a step, a sign they were trying to see me. I looked at Lily, her face so like my father's, and felt a pang of connection. Holding her later, her warmth against my chest, I saw Dad's eyes in hers, a reminder that family could still mean something, even if it wasn't perfect. But I didn't need their validation anymore. My research was saving lives, my work in Geneva touching patients I'd never meet. I'd built a life on my own terms, not theirs. As I left the restaurant, the Boston skyline glowing, I realized my revenge wasn't in cutting them off. It was in standing firm, in knowing my worth regardless of their approval. I boarded a plane back to Geneva, the hum of the engines a steady promise. My article stayed on Mom's fridge, a small victory, but my real triumph was in the lab, in the lives I was changing, in the truth I'd claimed. I was enough. Back in Geneva, I met James, a colleague from Houston, Texas, whose drawl and love for barbecue brought a piece of home to Switzerland. Over lunch by Lake Geneva, we swapped stories of Texas life. Friday night football, summer rodeos, the way family shapes you even when it hurts. I shared a memory from San Antonio, A family reunion when I was 12, held under oak trees heavy with Spanish moss. I'd spent the day trailing my cousins, hoping to belong, but ended up alone by the river, watching dragonflies while everyone celebrated Ethan's latest win. That day taught me resilience, the quiet strength to keep going even when you're unseen. James nodded, his own stories echoing mine. Texans hold their roots tight, he said, but we also learn to fly far. That conversation crystallized what I'd learned. In Texas, family is supposed to be forever, but forever doesn't mean staying stuck. It means carrying your roots, resilience, grit, love, while building a life that honors you. James became part of my Geneva family, not because of blood, but because we understood each other. I thought of the family means forever banner. It's lie now a lesson. Family is who sees you, who walks with you, whether in Austin or Geneva. My revenge wasn't in hating my family. It was in redefining family, in thriving where I was valued. Every trial I led, every student I mentored was a testament to that. Texans know how to hold on, but we also know when to let go, to soar. I'd let go of the pain, but kept the strength, flying far while carrying my Texas heart. I'm Abigail Harper, standing by Lake Geneva, the Alps reflecting on the water, a world away from Austin, Texas, where I once walked into my home to find 99 relatives under a banner that lied. Family means forever. That betrayal, Ethan's lies, Linda's dismissal, the invasion of my sanctuary, could have defined me, but it didn't. I chose to redefine family, not as blood, but as those who see you, who lift you up. In Geneva, I found that family in my colleagues, in the patients whose lives my research touches, in the quiet moments by this lake where I feel whole. I hold my father's locket, his note inside. Keep going, Abby. A reminder of the love that carried me through. My work here, fighting cancer, isn't just science. It's my way of honoring him, of proving I'm enough. The family means forever banner was a lesson, not a truth. Family isn't about who you're born to. It's about who stays, who sees your worth. My revenge wasn't anger. It was thriving, building a life where I'm seen, not overlooked. Here by this lake, I know I'm home, not because of a house, but because I've found myself. To my fellow Texans, raised under wide skies where family is supposed to be everything, I see you. I know the weight of barbecues and rodeos, the expectation to stay close, to sacrifice for those you love. But if your family makes you feel small, if they don't see your dreams, it's okay to walk away. In Texas, we're taught to hold our roots, but we're also built to fly far. You deserve to be valued, to stand tall like an oak, unapologetic in your worth. My journey from Austin to Geneva taught me that. I'm not done sharing. Next week, I'll dive into another story of turning pain into power, of finding strength when the world expects you to bend. If this resonates, hit that like button, subscribe, and join me. Let's talk about what family really means in the comments below. You're not alone, and you don't need anyone's permission to shine. You are enough. Carry that truth like a longhorn pendant, unbreakable no matter where you go. Let's keep building our own forever together.